Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our Tales from Tech Support. In today's episode, Encyclopedia Mechanica, S is for security is a word in the dictionary. Don't dox the customers. You see that button there? Indeed, that one you just clicked. Yeah, don't click that. Client elects to pay thousands in overages to have us do their work for them, and still end up spending just as much time of their own. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Encyclopedia Mechanica, S is for security is a word in the dictionary. Some comments on a recent post about data security reminded me of an incident some time ago. It was a bright and sunny morning. Somewhere. I didn't know where because the view from my office consisted of gray concrete in all 6 cardinal directions. CEO, check out my new documentation database. Me, your. What? CEO, the document database. Yes, the name changed from one breath to the next. This would be a recurring theme. CEO, I had a guy build it for me ages ago. Oh God, what monstrosity has he dredged up and dash? CEO, it opens in Access. With a resigned sigh, I found the file he was referring to and opened it. Me, Are these supposed to be here? CEO, what? Me, well, there's a bunch of what appears to be client files and information, but they're not ours. CEO, what do you mean, not ours? Me, well, for starters, this letter has a logo and return address for CEO's previous employer. Looks like some sort of invoice because there's customer billing information in the letter. CEO, must be some old files. I'll clean that up. Me, so when you left CEO's previous employer, you took a copy of a database full of their customer information and documentation with you? CEO, yes? I had it built for me, it's not theirs. Me, as an officer of their company, on the time they paid you for. CEO, I don't see your point. Me, and you never will. CEO, what? Me, nothing important. So, you don't see any issues with this? CEO, it's great. So convenient. Me, so, if I were to go to login. CEO, you select your name from the drop-down. Me, so if I selected someone else's name, say, CEO. CEO, no, you don't do that. Me, and then I went to NEW letter. CEO, it generates a blank letter on company letterhead with my signature block. Me, including your signature. CEO, yes, it's more convenient that way. Me, you realize this is wide open for abuse, right? CEO, no it's not. Me, look, if some malicious actor got hold of this, it would be trivial to falsify company documents that would be impossible to differentiate from genuine. CEO, don't be stupid. Me, shall I give you an example then? Check the printer. Me, typing faster than the CEO could walk to the printer, to the chairman of the board. Due to personal issues, I must reluctantly tender my immediate resignation. Regards, CEO. Print. CEO, shouting, what is this? Me, far as I can tell, you've just quit. CEO, but I didn't. Me, it's on company stationery, your signature is on it, looks pretty legit to me. CEO, but. Me, maybe the next one should be an instruction to transfer all company funds to an offshore account? CEO, I see your point. Narrator, he did not, in fact, see my point. When I left, the documentation system had been in place for over 4 years with no changes to security or login processes at all. As far as I know, it's probably still in place today. Every day is a day that I don't miss working there. Don't dox the customers. So, some years back, I was doing support for networking devices. We weren't an ISP, we just sold and troubleshot networking devices, routers, switches, etc. I still had a decent working knowledge of how most of the big ISPs in the country operated, since a lot of my calls involved the internet going out, the customer panicking, looking at their internet box, their router, and calling the company whose name was on there. At which point we obviously had to troubleshoot the router and the internet connection, and it was usually, though not always, a problem with the internet connection. So our story begins with one of these calls, very standard. Hello, thank you for calling company, my name is Truly, how can I help you? Hi, my internet is out, I need it backup. Alright, have you already been in touch with your internet provider? That's you guys. I'm afraid it's not, but since you're here, we should still troubleshoot your dash. It's your name on the box. He was referring to a router. I am aware, but we do not provide internet services, we only sell the equipment. Well, who's my internet provider, then? I'm not sure, sir, who do you pay your internet bill to? You guys? I am fairly certain that is not the case, sir. You're calling me a liar. No, sir, I'm just trying to tell you that we don't dash. What's your name? Truly. I want your full name. And your employee number. I'm afraid I don't feel comfortable giving out my full name, and we don't really have employee numbers. You have to give me your full name. I'm a customer. I'm sorry, sir, but I do not have to do so. However, I assure you that I am the only Truly in my department. Fine. I am going to write an article about this. I am a journalist in a big newspaper, you know. You're going to be fired before this is all said and done. Oh. I'll admit that I didn't have much of a response ready for that one. I wouldn't be surprised if your company ends up going under from this. We're a pretty important paper when it comes to consumer rights. I couldn't help myself. Which newspaper is it? Big mistake. Huge. Why are you trying to dox me? Yes, he actually said dox. No, sir, I just asked Dash. You're trying to dox me. I can't believe this. Who the hell do you think you are? Sir, no, I just figured, if there's going to be an article abo dash. I demand a manager. I need to speak to someone up the chain. This is outrageous, you can't treat a customer like this. Give me your manager. At this point, my manager, who's been listening in on the last couple of minutes, nods for me to transfer. She pretty quickly finds out that it's an ISP problem, and told me that he had been quite pleasant to her throughout their conversation. I'll never forget that strange man. You see that button there? Indeed, that one you just clicked. Yeah, don't click that. I work at a small A/V company as a programmer, so naturally, IT falls under my purview. On the bright side, the company has no problem putting up the money for good hardware and warranties to match, and the few of us who are assigned computers are competent enough to keep them clean and maintained on their own. Our infrastructure consists of just one server for file archive and accounting, a fireproof NAS for backups of the critical stuff, a couple Meraki MX64s for that sweet point-and-click site-to-site VPN goodness, and an array of cloud services for everything else, so IT is a very easily manageable fraction of my workload. Today, I came into the shop and was in the middle of my morning Redditing research when I happened across a concerning thread warning of a BSOD triggered by printing. Since we have no update server, I got to chase this one manually. Lucky for me, the BSOD only gets triggered when printing to a Kyocera printer, but unlucky for me we just happen to have one which sees frequent daily use by Bossman, so I paid him a visit. Me, yo, Bossman. Have you been able to print successfully today? Bossman, yeah, why do you ask? Me, is Windows caught up on updates? Bossman, I think so. Me, you mind checking for me? Bossman, opens Windows Update Settings, which is sporting a happy green checkmark. Me, cool in that case, just leave it be so you can still. And that's as far as I got before Bossman clicked the Check Updates button, which dutifully began downloading and installing the offending update. Me, whelp. I was trying to tell you not to do that, because that update has been known to cause a BSOD when printing to Kyocera printers, so. Bossman, whoops. Well, in that case, I'll close everything up, give it a reboot, and test printing before restarting anything critical. Me, okay. Let me know how that goes. At the very least, Bossman is the kind of guy who owns it when he *CKs up, so I left him to it while I refreshed my memory on update removal procedures back at my desk. He's also pretty experienced at the computering himself, so fixing it would just be standing over his shoulder and giving loose guidance. I was back at my very important research for only a few minutes before Bossman popped over to my desk. Bossman, hey, everything seems to work fine with that update still installed, so I'm gonna leave it. Me, good deal. So, what did we learn today? Bossman, let you finish your sentence before poking things I shouldn't? Me, attaboy. Client elects to pay thousands in overages to have us do their work for them, and still end up spending just as much time of their own. Our client is paying big money for an advanced content management system, the main benefit of which is that the client has the power to create and edit content themselves. Of course, the downside to that is that it requires the client to not be a complete idiot. One of the things we have in the CMS is a ton of redirect items, which have a field for the old path and the new path, and are used to redirect the old path to the new path if the old path would return a 404. Now obviously these are super easy to create, but it can be very time consuming if you need to make thousands of them as they did. Fortunately, I long ago created a super user-friendly tool for creating or editing content in the CMS in bulk using a CSV. It's super easy, has all of the instructions within the tool, but also extensive documentation on my blog, and the whole idea behind its creation was for it to be usable by people with no technical knowledge and only the most minimal understanding of the CMS, like what a field or an item path is. So does the client elect to do everything manually, or try to figure out how to use my tool? Neither. They elect to blow through their entire monthly budget and then agree to pay overages to have us do the work for them. As an aside, our PM tried so hard to empower the client to do this himself. He showed him my tool and explained how to use it. The client wouldn't use the tool. He wanted PM to do it for him. Worse, the client refused to even make the most basic effort to at least format the CSVs he sent PM correctly so that PM could just run them through the import, so PM spent hours reformatting the CSVs to make them usable. Now, PM did this all himself during the project, and I wasn't involved until the very end. The day before launch, client sends me a CSV to import for him, and I reply these are not formatted correctly for import. Please add the following columns and send it back to me. Client is upset, this is how they've always sent the CSVs and PM never had a problem importing it. After talking to PM we explained that client had never formatted the CSVs correctly, PM had explained months ago how to properly format it and use the import tool, but he just gave up on trying to get client to do it right because somehow it was too much for them and PM was spending more time trying to get client to do it correctly than just making the fixes himself. Client claims this is the first they've ever heard of it. They had no idea they were formatting things wrong. PM dies a little inside. So now the site has launched and there's still about 60 incorrect redirects. Client goes into the CMS, takes screenshots and checks the editing history of all of these incorrect items, and sends us an email with a list of all the items that have wrong paths. That's right, he takes time to check every single incorrect item, but doesn't actually fix them while he's in there. So PM runs the import again to update them. Client says the paths are still wrong, and he provided the correct paths to me. No, he didn't, he just provided a list of the paths that were wrong but no info on what the correct paths were. With 60 items, if it took 1 minute to manually edit each item, he could have fixed everything in just an hour and been done hours ago. Instead, client has definitely spent at least an hour checking and testing all of the items in the CMS and emailing back and forth with us. They owe us for several hours of work, and it's still not done. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.